Hello and welcome to PT and Nutrition Education's e-learning platform. Today we will be continuing our preparation for the examination in the principles of exercise and training. And as you can see, today's focus will be related to the skill-related components of fitness. The objectives that we'll be running through today are to identify and define the skill-related components of fitness, to describe the ways in which to train those skill-related components of fitness, and to identify ways in which to test for those individual components. Just like most of our lectures, there will be an accompanied workbooklet and tasks within that for you to complete throughout this lecture, along with some helpful videos and assessments which may help you prepare for your examination within this unit. So without further ado, let's get started on the skill-related components of fitness. So first of all, it might be important to identify the health-related components of fitness, which we've already been through on the previous lectures. So we've identified those as strength, muscular endurance, aerobic endurance, flexibility, and body composition. These are identified as health-related components of fitness due to the low skill required in order to complete them. Although this can be argued with the likes of strength training, which is considered an elaborate skill in which to master. Nonetheless, these are the 5 health-related components of fitness. The following you're about to see are the skill-related components of fitness. So the first skill-related component of fitness that we'll focus on, as you can see, is power. And power is the ability of a muscle or muscle group to produce strength at speed. The shorthand definition for power you will often see is speed times strength. So this is our ability to express force at great velocities. If we're able to increase the speed at which we do things and we have a good foundation of strength, therefore we will produce a lot of power in any given movement. So here we're talking about jumping sports or striking sports, such as the triple jump or mixed martial arts or boxing, where we're able to express the strength that we have within our muscles, but we're able to do that at such speed to generate power and explosiveness. So if we first look at the types of training, you can see here that the trainings that's being listed are plyometrics, medicine ball throws, sprints, Olympic lifting. All of these types of training are done with great speed, yet there is still strength elements to that. So as you can see from the picture here, plyometric training is taking that muscle from an eccentric movement where the muscle is stretched to a quick and explosive concentric movement. This involves things like hopping, bounding, jumping, anything where we're essentially taking the muscle to great lengths eccentrically and then exploding into a concentric contraction would be considered plyometric exercise. Medicine ball throws, with the medicine ball weighing a certain amount, then of course if we're then projecting that through the air with our strength and trying to do that quickly, as we can see, we're taking care of that speed and strength continuum. When it comes to sprints, we're taking care of more of the velocity side of the speed-strength continuum. However, we can add some resistance to sprints, such as a prowler push or even a sled drag, where we're taking care of a little bit more strength, slowing down the velocity, and therefore increasing the power. Which side of the continuum we work on will depend on where your strengths lie. So if we are quite strength related in our movements and our abilities, then it may be more advantageous to work at more the velocity side to increase your power. Or if you're more speed inclined, then it may be better to take care of the strength aspect of the speed strength continuum when it comes to power. Olympic lifting is a fantastic combination of both strength and speed. We can move the bar quickly from the floor to overhead in either a snatch or clean and jerk movement. Both of those types of lifts, whether it be the snatch or the clean and jerk, offer great opportunity to work more on the velocity side and work on speed if we reduce the load on the bar, or indeed we can increase the load on the bar and work on more of the strength aspect. Still, regardless of whether we're doing something at a heavier weight or a lighter weight, we're still working strength and speed simultaneously and therefore increasing the potential for power. When it comes to volumes, intensities and rest periods, much like strength training here, we're looking to at least rest for 3 minutes in between those repetitions or indeed sets. So 3 minutes allows the creatine phosphate to replenish, and therefore your next effort can be done at a greater velocity or greater rep max percentage. But of course, as we've mentioned, this is not like strength training where we're trying to just train heavy all of the time. This has two components to it. We have to train velocity, but we also need to train force. So certain aspects of your training may be towards that 90% 1 rep max with certain movements and training that you do. But also by the same token, some of the stuff might have zero load. It might just be plyometrics where you're propelling your body through the air and working more on the velocity aspect. When it comes to the repetitions for power, this really does depend on the side of the force velocity continuum that you're trying to work. If we're trying to work on more force related biomotor abilities, then it may be advantageous to reduce the reps, increase the reps, so that we can allow the body to restore creatine phosphate and therefore get greater force out of subsequent reps. But again, if we're training for more of the velocity, then it may be advantageous to train with more repetitions. We're adding great speed to the movements that we do, but again, there might be some technical aspects that need to be worked on, and therefore increased repetitions may help to consolidate that. When it comes to the testing measures of power, there are a few things that we can do in order to test for power. Some of them require really expensive equipment, and there are force monitors where we can measure, for example, the power in a punch and things like that. But some of the basic ways in which to test for power would be a standing long jump or a vertical jump, looking at the power and explosiveness in the lower limbs. Moving on to speed, this is the ability to move over a displacement as quickly as possible. So moving from A to B in as quick as time as possible would be considered speed. So when we're talking about a displacement in sports science, this simply just means the distance between point A and point B. The reason why we say this is because when we think of speed, and quite rightly, we think the 100-meter sprint. This displacement is over that 100-meter mark. But of course, we can express speed and we can show speed in many different ways. So, for example, a boxer throwing a punch, being able to get their hand from their chin to their opponent's face and then back to their chin. Of course, this is a very different type of speed to what you would see from a 100-meter sprinter. Nonetheless, both are moving over a displacement as quickly as possible. When it comes to the types of training, much like power, we have some very similar types of training here. So we've got plyometrics, as we mentioned, propelling the body through the air with bounds, hops, jumps, whatever that may be. Resistance training, we spoke about this at length during the strength lecture and the different strength training that we can partake. This is going to increase the muscle's ability to produce force, which of course can therefore increase speed over a displacement. Sprints, of course, we're trying to move over that distance as quickly as possible. Therefore, we're working on velocity, which will contribute to speed performance. And then again, Olympic lifting, we have that strength and we have that speed element to this type of exercise, whether it be the clean and jerk or whether it be the snatch. And we can play around with the loads and the velocities, which hopefully would improve the body's ability to move quickly, whether that be getting underneath a bar, whether that be moving the hand at great velocities, or whether that be moving the entire body through space. Of course, we're getting an improvement in speed through these types of training. When it comes to testing, we have a 100-meter sprint, which is a nice barometer of speed. And then we have, of course, the 30-meter sprint, which we can do over a shorter distance, especially if we're looking at acceleration. And then we can look at some different velocity measures. So again, just simply looking at the speed of a kick when striking a target, or the speed of a punch when throwing a target. Again, this would require more expensive equipment, but nonetheless, this is something that's becoming more apparent in the world of sports science and the world of testing. Balance is the third skill-related component of fitness, and this is the body's ability to maintain equilibrium during both static and dynamic action. So static, of course, being still, and dynamic whilst moving. When it comes to training, of course, we have to look at training specificity. Of course, we're going to have to train where we're challenging the body's equilibrium. When it comes to plyometric training, we could progress certain movements that involve the jumping, and we could make them unilateral, where we're just bounding from one leg to the other, or we're simply just working on the landing aspect of that jumping exercise, where we're trying to stick the landing and trying to maintain equilibrium. Unilateral resistance training, so here we could simply just move into one-legged RDLs, or we could move into one-legged lunges, or we could have one-legged step-ups, anything along those lines where we're trying to offset the balance, even with a suitcase carry instead of a farmer's walk, and challenging the muscles to compensate for either the left or right side, whatever it may be. The same goes for yoga and Pilates. We're working more so on static movements here, where we're trying to hold positions and work on breathing, but nonetheless we're challenging the body's equilibrium. And it's actually, there's certain poses, as you can see in the picture here, which are very similar to the testing measures for balance, which is the Stork test. So we have to stand and we have to try and keep the pelvis nice and straight with one leg up, and we're trying to hold that pose for as long as we can as a measure of balance. Reaction time is the ability to respond to the presentation of any given stimulus. As you can see from the picture here, a boxer would need good reaction time in order to respond to the presentation of an opponent's fist, and then have to make the movement in which to dodge that particular punch. So this would be a great example of reaction time. When it comes to types of training, here we want to be working where we have to react to certain stimulus. So hand-eye coordination drills, where we're just throwing the ball against the wall. Maybe the wall is even uneven, so we have to react to the ball bouncing off in different directions. Partner drills, again, the partner may present a stimulus, whether that be their own hand and then having to get out of the way, or quickly reacting to something that the partner will present. Again, we're working on the reaction time of the eye taking in that stimulus and then the body reacting with a motor response. When it comes to testing, the simple test for reaction time is the ruler drop. So holding out the hands, somebody will then drop a ruler between the hands, and how quickly you can then clap those hands together and take the measurement from the ruler in order to determine how quick your reaction time was. Agility refers to the ability to change direction at speed. So here we're talking, for example, as you can see from the picture, a slalom run in football, moving the direction from left to right, trying to evade opponents, trying to trick opponents, would be a great example of agility. When it comes to types of training, we're trying to do things quickly, but we're involving now a change of direction in order to meet the very definition of agility. So shuttle runs, where we're running and changing direction. Reaction drills, where once again somebody like a coach will present a stimulus, you have to react to that. So agility is not only the body's ability to move quickly, but also react quickly to the stimulus as well. Slalom runs, as you can see, running from side to side, working on being able to move the body very quickly to change direction. So this has a fantastic crossover to situations that you would see in these type of sports. Football, whether it be dribbling the ball, rugby, whether it be trying to get past an opponent with a drop of the shoulder. This is a fantastic way in which we can work on our agility in order to change direction at speed. When it comes to testing, two key tests are available to measure agility. That's the T-test and the Illinois agility run. Coordination is the ability to move the body and the limbs in a synchronized manner. So here we're talking about the body really moving as one. When we think about great examples of coordination, you may think of sports like gymnastics, where they're moving their body through space, but in a synchronized way in which to maintain equilibrium. You can even see from the picture here, you have the stimulus of the football, but then the body reacting to that stimulus and moving in such a coordinated way where they can grab the ball and then they can land in a fashion where they're not going to get injured. So in terms of types of training for coordination, bodyweight training and gymnastics, of course, is going to increase the body's ability to move as one in a coordinated fashion. Unit and bilateral activations, here we could challenge our body to move the left and right side in certain ways and certain patterns in which to test their coordination. And then, just like we spoke about in the previous slide, stimulus response drills, where a coach can present a stimulus and then the body has to coordinate in order to react to that stimulus. So coordination, agility, reaction time, all very closely linked. And when we're developing one, it's quite likely we're developing the others. Test parameters for coordination would include hand-eye coordination tests, so it's quite common now to see where athletes are responding to, for example, different lights which are actually scattered along the floor or scattered on a wall, and they have to react when the light pops up. They have to press it. Of course, it's a little bit of reaction time, a little bit of speed and coordination in order to move the body into a position where we can react to that stimulus. When it comes to coordination, of course, there is an aesthetic component to that, and therefore it may be a little bit harder to objectively analyse coordination, given that it can be a little bit subjective. So there we have it, the 6 skill-related components of fitness: power, speed, agility, reaction time, balance and coordination. For each one, we've identified the definition, the types of training, some of the volumes and intensities involved in that training, and then also the testing parameters in order to measure. And within your work booklet, there is a section on the skill-related components of fitness. You have to identify both the health and the skill-related, giving definitions and types of training for those skill-related that we've just been through. And in addition to that, there is a practice examination that you can have a go to see if you're prepared for the exam when it comes to the principles of exercise, fitness and health.